Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. You are about to join a frequency that will open your mind, expand your heart, and activate your spirit. Thank you for joining Kelly Meehan, Spirit Baby Medium and Master Energy Therapist. Kelly believes in the power of the Spirit Baby. She speaks with babies in spirit before life, in the womb, and after life. She supports, teaches, and guides others to tune into the intuitive and mystical parts of life for greater wisdom. Join her in meeting your soul baby and build your connection and relationship with deep love and trust. Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio with your host, Spirit Baby Medium, Kelly.
Welcome to episode 145, August 19th, 2022, Healing Fertility with Gentle Surrender for Pregnancy into Birth. What loving support can you do today for pelvic care? How do you get embodied with aromatherapy? What practice of self-love can guide a gentle mindset into conception and a trauma-free birth? I have a special guest. I always love my special guests. There's always a story behind my special guest, and it's Mayus, and I'm going to read her bio in just a moment. And maybe I'll read your bio now, and then we can talk about how we met. I was like, I don't know if I remember that full story.
Thank you for having me. I don't know either how the story. It's very interesting.
I know, because we're both moms. We may have met when we had our kids were really super young, and I only had one. Now I have two, and you have two, and I know we've hung out at the park and we've connected. I feel like it was in the birth world is where our connection, really began.
It was through the birth center. I think we connected with several people we both knew, and that's how we at some point got to talk and connect in one of the play date parks.
Yeah.
and that's how it started.
The wild thing is that, you lived in America for quite some time, but now you are, where are you now?
I'm back in the Netherlands.
Yeah. So I was like, I remember when you left, I was like, she's leaving? We just, our connection just began.
I know, it was so quick and it was fast. And the whole moving back to the Netherlands was a big switch.
Yeah.
But it was a good one.
I know many that are tuning in are around your part of the world. There's a lot of, I feel like, Spirit Baby intuitives in tune with Spirit Baby communication and this journey. And I'm gonna read your bio, and I want to talk more about, your work and supporting others and this interesting, I would say, fun conversations we have. They can be very deep because they're, we talk about trauma, we talk about healing, but yet there's so much love in it. And so Mayus, let me get the name right. Yeah. Mayus Mutabi, I said it wrong already. Holtis. Say it for me. Just say the full name for me.
Mayus Mutabi Holtis.
There you go. Gorgeous.
Thank you for having me.
After experiencing birth trauma and child loss herself, she makes it her passion to support mothers in their journey to embodiment, pelvic power, and self-empowerment with different healing modalities. With a background in pedagogy, early childhood development, flower essence therapy, aromatherapy, Reiki, personal yoni egg coaching, various massage techniques, including womb, fertility massage therapy and training, and effects of intergenerational trauma and conception, pregnancy, and birth patterns, she can offer custom support. Every mother has her own trauma story, and therefore also her unique journey to self-empowerment and rediscovering her creative power. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Kelly.
There's so much I want to go into, but I feel like we can even just start at what was the call into this work? Because birth trauma, child loss, these are big. This is big, right? That's big energy to hold, to be a part of.
Yes, it is. And I think it started with my own journey. Quite to be honest, it started with my own journey of experiencing birth loss and traumatic births, and that took me actually to really looking in the situation for mothers and how the support is after loss and trauma. And I noticed that it was hard. It's hard for moms to really be honest about the situation, to be able to talk about it, to be able to have people to understand what you're going through. And I feel it was, I think I did get a lot of support when I was in the, in the field in the United States, and having the midwives still helping me, and the support I got from you and many other moms around me. I think I had a big tribe of people around me that were able to support me. Moving back home to the Netherlands after that, I realized I felt also a little bit lost, and lonely. And realizing for many moms, it is hard to really talk about situations like this. Also, probably maybe of response from others not being able really to understand, and actually seeing that there's not a lot of support out here as well for moms to really be able to express what they're feeling, and what's going on in the in the home situation with your partner, with your other children, if you have other children. So I really realized along my own journey of healing and really being in balance with the situation, I figured I really need to do something for moms, that I can support them in their journey to really find themselves again, because you can get so lost in all the the grief and the things daily that happen, especially when you already have children, and you really need to find time to really be able to to embody the journey that happens with your body and your spirit and your emotions. And and I felt called to give that support to moms.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Trauma, it's such a big word. And I know for myself, I've had my own birth trauma. Um, through the birth of my first, and that's just birth trauma itself, which is so different.
Right.
And looking at even the trauma of birth loss is a completely other part. And
Right.
it's having they feel like two major areas that maybe are often lost. And I know in the past years I've been going deeper into trauma healing, looking at Garba Mate's work and all these different somatic experiencers and birth psychology, and it's quite fascinating because we I feel like sometimes we are the examples of like, who am I, what's my trauma, and it's not like you have to look for your trauma, it's just
No.
there, right? I mean, it's
Right.
there and you feel it, and there can definitely be an isolation, or especially with the feminine, I feel like an unworthiness of care, or what does
Right.
that look like. And I love that you even shared, it sounded like you had a tribe put into place to get the support that you needed. And that is the biggest part, I feel like, of any kind of healing journey, is that
Yes.
what are we setting up around us? Even now, like in my own healing journey with my own issues I'm dealing with, it's like I have that tribe connection put into place. And I do feel like in conception and with fertility stuff, I feel like that's where I probably come in for other people, and even for you as well, and pregnancy, and then the postpartum. I don't work with the postpartum sometimes, but that's not my area. But I feel like that's a whole other career. There's not enough of me to do everything I want to do.
No.
But
Yeah. It's I'm actually blessed that I've gotten on this path, and I really felt that this was my call to support moms and try to provide a tribe for the women who really need it, and it doesn't matter to what part of your journey you are, even if you've had loss or trauma a long time ago, and you feel the need to and the call to heal it or give it some sort of place. I think in all respect we can gather and talk about these feelings and talk about what's really going on in your body, because it's in full spectrum. It's not only your body that goes through trauma, it's also your spirit and your emotion and all of it together. And sometimes it can get so stuck by daily life, and it causes a lot of pains, in all aspects. And if you don't try and work on it, get it moving and really feel through it, I feel it's just gonna stick around forever and not help you or heal you on a certain part, on what you need to do, and really get your potential out of it, out of motherhood.
I'm curious because I'm getting inspired now, looking at this energy around pelvic care, pelvic power. And
Right.
I just had this thought come to mind. I see these women come to me and they've been on a very long conception journey, almost like, whoa. they're working at it, maybe even getting over 7 years, right? And my
Right.
wondering is like, in this moment, I'm going, and I've seen everybody is so different. I understand that because I've seen that. But also, of course, there's even parts of mystery in that. Is like when we're coming up to go, oh, I'm ready to be mother. Maybe it's in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and then it's like, oh, why is it not happening? And that I go into like my curiosity is that pelvic care since
Right.
childhood into teen years into adult. It's like
Mm-hmm.
all that energy now is like there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Can you speak about
Exactly.
that?
Um, yeah, what can I tell you about it? There's a lot. I think when we look at our lives as women, there's so
Yeah.
much that can happen.
Mm,
From anti-conception through, hard menstruation, maybe when
mm,
you have situations or you discover you have a certain illness to it, like endometriosis or PCOS or anything like that. There's so much that actually now what I discover in our world is happening, and it
mm.
actually, it once I started the training for women fertility massage therapy, I was actually shocked to hear and see how many situations women can be in really for that causes infertility, and how much more awareness can be created around the whole pelvic care and how we can really be in tune with our own body and our own cycle of life, and therefore also be in tune with the future, with
Mm,
your own fertility or fertility of your children or your daughter or your granddaughter. In the end, it's all a circle of life. You're all connected, and all the generations that were before and that will come. So I think by healing a lot of trauma in your pelvic floor and in your uterus, and everything around it, our femininity, our power of creation. I think it becomes very powerful to know that you can actually heal and be in balance in the whole aspect and feel and feel, yeah, how do I say, empowered, really.
mm.
And I think already by being in tune, I think it's the first thing, being in tune with your body and the rhythm of your body, the rhythm of nature, the rhythm of what you see happen. I think these are the basics, and see how can I support my own body in this journey of post trauma or loss or even infertility, because all these things can be so
Yeah.
connected. And maybe looking at your own birth journey, how was your birth, what was your story? It is so important to know, and this is one lesson I've learned, to know your own story. How did you come to earth? Like, how was your conception, and how was time in pregnancy, and how was your birth? And especially, yeah, and if you can know this, if you can talk about these things with your own mother or your grandmother, there's so much that to it. There's so much that, so many details that can come to that you can come to realize that might be part of your own journey, like certain traumatic intergenerational trauma or patterns, or imprints that were given to your grandmother and she is not realizing it. And then later on you realize, oh, this is my connection. So it actually happened already before. And how can I heal that part? But it takes a
Mm.
lot of being in tune with your own story, really, and what is happening in your own body. And if you can do that, I think that's the first step to getting to that healing point and feeling whole again.
Yeah, that pelvic self-care there, it
Yes,
begins in
yes,
so many different levels. And
yes.
you're so inspiring. I'm like thinking like I'm going, when is she coming to America to massage my womb? Can I get on the list? Are
Of
you gonna
course you can.
I'm
I'd
serious.
love to. No, I
I'm
know,
like,
I
I'm
love to.
sold by your energy. I just adore your energy. And I'm like, oh, I want that because I do feel like I have a lot of pelvic history, let's say. And I've talked
Hmm.
about it here and there throughout my podcast. I grew up with a mother that was abused, sexually abused, physically and emotionally abused. And
Hmm.
people don't realize how that forms your world. and your
Oh,
connection to
totally
your,
does.
yeah. And so I started getting into a little bit ancestral work recently, and it's been
Hmm.
very transformative. It's quite fascinating to me. Um, on that level, because I literally felt like pain in my body like just disappeared, but it's come back because there's energy, right?
Right.
There's just, I'm like, but I
Right.
almost was like, wow, what is this freedom that I could be
Mm.
a part of? That's very generationally feminine, connected to, shockingly, a side of my family I was thinking it was another, right? And so I'm
Mm.
going,
Right.
oh, there's this other part that I'm just not aware of. And maybe I feel like many of us do is we lock it away because it feels so scary
Yes.
or
Yeah.
fearful. And then it's like, oh, when is the readiness? And even in this lifetime, I've had pelvic floor physical damage through an accident, and then I had a child, and then I'm like re-traumatized because of that
Yes.
initial, but no one ever like was like, hey. And I remember going, I'm a little nervous about this birth because of that trauma. And it all came together in a really intense way, because
Hmm.
nobody is educated in pelvic floor health, is what I'm realizing. Even midwives, they maybe more now, but 10 years
Hmm.
ago, it was like, I really sensed it was like something is up. And, but I didn't know who to go. No, there was no like, hey, here's the ad, like go, who's doing
Right.
the womb massages and things. Even now, my resource list is probably zero. There's not many people that I hear that are doing it, but maybe I'm just also not in that field. But when I was looking for it, I felt very challenged to find. And then I realized too, and I'm sure many are tuning in and questioning this too, is the intimacy of that, right? It's like,
Hmm.
to me, it feels huge. It feels like, I'm inviting somebody into this psychic, spiritual, highly emotional space. And then how am I going to
Yes.
feel? The fear.
Yes.
How do you
Yes.
approach that when you're walking into the space with somebody?
Um, I do it with care, of course. Like there's
Yeah.
every woman is different. Every woman has gone through their own journey of pain. Some have had also abuse, and some have had just pure a lot of trauma, or even physical scars
Mm,
and scarring can cause a lot of trouble, and blockage within the whole system. And with massage, and yeah, I think what comes down to knowing what can happen, and if there is a response out of trauma, or if there's a response of crying,
mm,
or any release. It takes time and it takes attention, and knowing, where does this release come from? Is this something that's current, or is it something that comes from deeper? And is it like ingrained in the family system, or is it something that happened before in your life or in a past life? There's so much
mhm,
there's so much to it that can come up, and I've seen a lot of releases come and happen within the massage.
mhm,
And when I do the massages, the womb and fertility massages, and it really is diverse for everybody, and I try to allow the emotions, the situations to happen, and
mhm,
whatever needs to be done at the time. It could be a hug, it could be just a listening ear, it could be my own um, visual, spiritual things that come to me when I do the massage, because sometimes I get so much information. And yeah, and I need to be also careful with what to share. What did I hear? What did I see?
mm,
And to what aspect can I share that with the woman that's there? But it for me, the main thing is just love and being there at the moment, and
mm,
allowing the things to happen. Whatever happens, whatever comes up, it it can be there. It's okay to be there. And already, I think that makes it that a lot of women feel heard. You feel heard, and you feel
mhm,
that somebody's actually understanding you. Because even if I've experienced the massages as well, having somebody there that actually
mm.
knows and can support you in the process is already huge. It's already big. And it can be really helpful and supportive.
Yeah, I wish there was more emotional support in massages in general. Body massage,
Hmm.
womb massage. I feel like it takes a very unique, special person to really be able to step into their own stuff, right? And this is what I've
Mm.
seen, because I've had some weird massages throughout the years that I'm going, or I felt like I needed to cry, and I was like, am I allowed to cry? And
Mm.
so now I'm super select on who touches my body. I realize it's a
Right.
sacred space for me,
Right.
and that
Right.
people, even their own emotional maturity, they have to do the work to work with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
Otherwise I'm
important.
like, yeah,
And it's important to be in tune with the person that you
yeah,
will get the care from. And for me, it's important to know, do they feel safe? Do they feel safe? And that's why I always have an initial conversation over
yeah.
phone to see, are you connected? Do you feel that that I'm going to be the person supporting you in the process with whatever, whether it's a massage, whether it's pelvic care and strengthening your pelvic floor with yoni eggs, or whether it's, a total different support system of just coaching, as, you trying to find connection with yourself and your spirit baby. All of these, you're really going to have to feel okay and safe with me being there. And if you don't, and if you feel with a conversation you don't, then I will allow you to go, because I don't want you to feel unsafe. I don't want you to
Mm-hmm.
feel, so that's, for me, is the main important thing, the first conversation and the first connection. Do you feel it? Are you okay with it? And do you want to continue? Is it a yes? And also using, how do I say? I forgot the word. Kind of informed consent, also when you touch somebody. Are you okay with
Yeah.
me touching you there? Because there's going to be a lot happening. You have to be ready to go through a serious journey sometimes. And sometimes it can come in parts, but sometimes deep stuff happens already the first time. And are you ready for it? Am I allowed to touch you in your body and on your scars and everything that comes with it? And yeah, so I hope, usually the women that come to me and they contact me, they have that connection already. They
Yes.
feel a yes. And yeah, and then that's how the journey starts, me
I love
supporting the
that
women.
that you have multi-leveled awareness and connection in this, because it makes me think about when I worked with somebody who's highly recommended, who was good, who, really supported my pelvic floor work after the
Mm.
first birth. And I have a lot of scarring. So, with
Mm.
scarring, there's a lot of emotion. Whoa, a lot of
Yes.
emotion.
Oh yes.
And so it's like, but this person was like, oh, again, very well known, very recommended, was like, oh, there's a somatic therapist you could see. And I was like, gosh, I really just wanted her to have both of those. It's like,
Mm.
how can we go in to my vagina, into my body, and then act like there's no emotional support? Like, I don't really, now I'm like, wait a minute, how can we go there without emotional support? It's such a vulnerable, sacred space. And
Mm-hmm.
it requires, but now, I've learned throughout the years. And I remember I went back to this person after the second birth, which was very different. But I also felt like it felt like too much physically. And I literally
Mm-hmm.
was like, nope, nope. I got such hard nose that I felt like I ran away a bit, but I also felt like I needed that other part. Like, hey, let's just sit and be in the emotional. Let's just even, maybe a
Mm-hmm.
gentle touch of just a hand on your leg. Do you know,
Right.
like, doesn't have to be
Right.
this whole big thing. And
Mm-mm.
I was really craving that. And I'm sure other women do too. It's like that safety thing is huge, and feeling
It
safe in our
is.
bodies. And it's something you said earlier. I want to bring it back to that too, is that safety is what I see, and I'm sure you would agree, is that it comes as an infant,
Yes.
and it doesn't mean it can't change over time, but there's something
Mm-hmm.
about the safety of the infant, the safety of the
Mm-hmm.
child, and then the adults
Mm-hmm.
like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not, I'm like, no, I'm not safe, but you're, maybe you are, but you're not. You are,
Yes.
but you're not, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yes. And it's yeah, the safety and love is those are the two words
Yeah.
that really are
Yes.
important in the journey. And yeah, and then the massaging, I feel that massaging for me was the extra touch, because when
Mm.
there's so much energy stuck physically but also emotionally, that's, by whatever scar, emotional, spiritual, or physical, it blocks the entire body from flowing in the system, in all your organs, in all your
Mm.
being, and if there's a blockage, you're gonna stick with it, with the blockage, or with with that pattern of blockage until it's actually released. And massaging is such a physical thing for me to help them go through that process, because you really turn motion and flow within the body and within the region of your your stomach, your organs, your intestines, which connect to your womb and to your pelvic floor, and all the scars that are present in your womb, and in your body. They with massage is for me the only way to unblock and get the flow going and support the body system, but in the end also the connection with the spirit and with the emotion and being whole. We're a whole. That's my vision.
Yeah.
And one
Yeah.
cannot go without the other one. Really, it doesn't. For me, that's
Yeah.
just the whole thing.
I feel like that's what our world is really pushed. I talk about this quite often in my own little circle and outwardly. It's like, we're so external. It's like everything is so physical, and it's like get that physical. But of course, so I feel like it's a learning experience, as you talk about earlier, the embodiment. It's like, who are you in this internal world? Who do you feel
Mm-hmm.
like? What are you sensing? And even going back to that foundation, I have seen many women who have like endometriosis or ovarian
Yes.
stuff, and I see the story underneath, like, wow, this is connected to
Mm.
infancy or childhood, or sometimes I
Right.
don't, or ancestral stuff is very common, and it's
Yes.
like, what is being
Mm-hmm.
carried and held? And like, of course, it's very unique, but there's a few in the past year that I've seen that have very strong connections to their own birth in the world. And it's interesting
Yes.
because we don't think
Yes.
how we're
Mm-hmm.
born into the world can create infertility, actually. And maybe I'll
It.
even write
Mm-hmm.
more about that, because I feel like, oh no, it's got to be it's got to be this. But it's like, what if you were traumatized, or you went on oxygen,
Yes.
or now
Yes.
you're with that
Mm-hmm.
underlying tone of fear is like, I almost died when I was born. It's not logical. So
Right.
how can I then bear a child and not know that that child's going
Mm-hmm.
to die? And it could go very deep with people. And I had some really
Yes.
amazing
Mm-hmm.
sessions with people where things were revealed, and I go ask your mom, but I said, go ask your dad if they're
Exactly.
alive. But then I said, here's the deal. Your infant is inside you now. It's not separate. But it's so
Mm-hmm.
hard for us to understand that. Like, you were there when you were born. But of course, again, safety, locking away the high brain versus the nervous system, all that stuff. But I feel like
Mm-hmm.
we need to give people more permission to activate that they are embodied even as an infant.
Definitely. And birth, your own story, really has impact on the whole rest of your life, looking at the imprint it makes. So everything around pregnancy, when you're in the womb and after that, has an imprint on what's happening for you in the rest of your life. And when you are aware of that, you can, oh man, a whole new world opens.
Yeah, and I think that, for me, I realized like there was something off with my, like, I was born into trauma, literally. So I'm
Ah.
like, not, and people know this, I've talked about it, non-labor cesarean birth. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm cesarean birth, it's already trauma. And I know people that,
Yes.
I'm not knocking people that have cesarean birth. It's trauma no matter what. And the
Yes.
second part is I'm non-labored, so I actually don't get, I don't know what's really happening. And then,
Right.
and I'm a breech.
Right.
And then my mom was grieving the loss of her favorite brother. And
Right.
so I have literally all of that. And then I come in like quite shocked. And then when I connect with my mother, it felt like more trauma. I was like, oh, I'm here to take care of her. That was
Right.
literally my first experience with her. And I remember her saying to me years ago when she was alive, and she didn't realize when she said this to me, I literally put the phone down next to me and was bawling, and I had to put the phone on mute because she can't hold that
Mm-hmm.
experience with me. And she just said to me, when you were born, you were crying. It was the weirdest thing. You had tears, and the
Wow.
nurses thought it was so weird
Mm.
because babies don't have tears when they're born. And I literally, when
Mm.
she said that, I literally had this kinesthetic, visceral feeling in my body that just made me bawl. And I realized it felt like because I was there to take care of her at that
Right.
moment.
Oh wow.
And it was deep,
Oh
right? And then
wow.
I was like, okay. And then
Yes.
I put that aside. And then I've had like more multiple stuff. And even in the past year, I feel like 2021 was a really big time of infancy, like revisit for me with somatic therapy, and like going, okay, Kelly, there's more stuff that you're hiding. And it's okay. It's okay that your infant was traumatized. Like, you can love her now. It's okay to love her,
Yes.
right? But it's so hard
Yes.
to even get there, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's deep, and I think that's where everything starts, to find your story. What is your story? What happened before and after? And then how can you um recognize these imprints and get how do I say, kind of recognition for it, like that people really see you for who you are, and how you came to this planet, really,
Yeah.
your journey. And
And not creating shame around it, right? It's like
no, no,
that's my big issue, but that's another story. But it's
absolutely
kind of
not.
like, it's okay. Like, a lot of people are born with intergenerational traumas and
Mm-hmm.
infancy
Mm-hmm.
trauma, but it's like, then what are we doing in the present time, right? That's the part. And we
Right.
talk about love and like, what do we, that's the part I'm going, okay, we can't, I know it's so easy to spend all our time in the past, which I'd say 99.9% of people do, because that's just how we're wired in many ways, and some of it really unconsciously, and some very actively conscious. But it's like, okay, and I even like when I wrote here trauma-free birth, it's like, I almost feel like we have to say that nowadays. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like,
It is, and
not like just go into
it's really
natural birth
sad
or
that we
connection.
have to
I
say
go,
that.
yeah, like, can we say trauma-free birth? It's like that to me.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I wrote that, I was like, oh, that's so powerful.
Yeah, and it's actually for me sad also to think about it,
Yeah,
that we have
it
to
is.
mention it, because these
Yep.
days so many are not even aware of what certain, births and how your child gets to be born, it can affect her or him, and also affect you, because let alone if I look like my own children, my firstborn,
Mm.
it was a very guided birth, and I had a lot of support, but yet it was still very traumatic. And
Mm.
telling her story to her really healed her, and really figured,
Yeah.
oh, you could see the change in the switch. And of course, she's a child, she's 10 years old, but she really, it's people, I don't know if parents are very, if they're aware that your children actually are very smart and know, and they can
Mm.
recognize it, and hearing their own story of conception and of pregnancy, and also how they came to this planet, can really help heal
Mm.
their own wound, and
Love that.
their own blockage and hurdle of, okay, what am I going to do with myself, and what is my mission on this earth? And these are the basics: recognizing your own story, your true story. Where do I come from? What has happened before? And that's, I feel, always the start of your own journey and the journey of your children. And if you can recognize these imprints and work with them, I think it can cause already a lot of healing and a lot of,
Yeah. And it's so
connection,
beautiful.
because this connection is so much part of this, because we're so disconnected with ourselves and with the rest of the people around us, I feel, these days. And that this connection just, you can see it happen. It causes only more trauma and trauma and more trauma.
Yeah. And I feel like, just to add to that, I was saying that it's such a beautiful vision to look at our children in a certain way. And it brings
Mm-hmm.
me into even, spirit baby communication, and that inner,
Right.
that like you knowing your children before. And I actually, so
Mm-hmm.
my son is 11, and my
Mm-hmm.
older one, and I've talked to him just here and there about recently, actually, like, it just comes up so, like, randomly. It's not planned, right? And so we just talked about him in the womb, and because I always feel like he wants to climb back in my womb all the time. He's that child. He's not the 5-year-old. The 11-year-old's like that. I don't know. He calls it his real home, and
uh,
'cause but
Genius.
when I had pre-birth communication with him, he told me the
Mm.
star constellation he came from, and I didn't think it was a real place, and I started Googling, and it was a real place, and it was something I've never heard of, and that made me realize these starlight children were bringing into our world,
Oh
with
yeah.
such great mystery going. And I even said
Mm.
to my son the other day, this is what I was going to say, was I said to him, you were a spirit baby. You talked a lot. You were nonstop. And
Yeah.
he even looked the way he looked. And it's okay that he may fully remember, or parts of him may remember, or he may go quiet, because he's really coming into density in this world, right? A lot of our
Mm-hmm.
children are, even though they are intact with that soul cord, whatever, whatever people want to call it, that divine, that spark. And
Mm-hmm.
so, of course, I feel like our presence as mothers and fathers reminds our children in our own sense of light what their
Mm-hmm.
connection is, right? Not to get lost in
Yes.
whatever it is, or
Yes.
sometimes, having to find wherever the journey takes. And so, I even would, yeah, we encourage, I love the birth story. Even my young one, I showed him a video of how he was born. I actually, we passed the phone around. I'm like, I got to get that, because I wanted to see this child come out of me. I was determined. And so
Yes.
it's not these pretty videos you could show. It's just very amateur. And I watched it many times before. And when my second born watched it for the first time, he was very uncomfortable by it. And I was like, oh,
Mm.
this is interesting. He didn't like, I think, and this is so him, he didn't like that I was moaning, but it was a beautiful moan, by the way. It was like, I didn't even know I had a sound
Right.
like that out of my voice. Did not, it literally sounded like I was singing. I was like, what is this magic? And
Right.
it was just like this high pitched womanly voice. I was like, because I have more of, I don't know. I was like, is that me? I guess it is. And
Oh, we can do a
so,
lot of
yeah,
magical
I was
things
like,
during
what the
birth.
heck? And so he didn't like that. He was making me uncomfortable, which is very much his personality now, which makes me nervous. My little empath is like, but then he watched it again. He was okay with it. I'm like, that's you as a baby. Isn't that amazing? Because I'm celebrating. I'm not going, oh my gosh, look at this. It's
Yes.
so traumatic. I'm celebrating.
Right.
Like, look, there you are, and you're guggling up water, and then you're on mommy's chest. And I have this beautiful smile when I pick him up to my
Mm.
chest. And in the video, here's what's really awesome in the video. If you look in the background, as soon as he comes up, and there's white beams just flying all around the room, like almost
Wow.
not, and it's not dust either, because the camera
Mm.
was watching a lot of stuff. And then all of a sudden, like, you see them dart, there's a certain energy that darts. And I was like, is this his soul group? It's like a soul is here in this body. And it's
Mm-hmm.
so magical, really, to watch the beams of light. And you're just, is it ancestors? Is it angels? Like, we don't have to tag it to be something specific, but we
No.
do know that there is spirit energy there. It's like
Oh,
between
definitely.
portals, right? And so
Yes.
I love that we just talked about this. See, your energy brings in this, like, spark.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, oh, and I feel that there's so much we can still talk about, going into this whole topic of pelvic healing and in awareness in your own body, and um, how that actually continues to show also for your own children, in the process of
Mm,
um, how they will continue to help and heal their own body, in
mm,
this world, and what is necessary. In the end, we are in this body, and we're gonna
mhm.
have to stick with the body until
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 it's
the time
released.
comes. Yes, until the time comes. So we might as well teach them and how we can best support them. And I can only do what I know and with what I think is best, and show
Mm,
our daughter and our son and how they can take care of it. And I'm super blessed that I got to inhale all this knowledge
mm,
of massage techniques, but also helping the spirit and helping spirit baby. And I think getting on that journey, listening to spirit babies and being able to receive messages really started with the journey when I got to meet you, and when you
mm.
you actually helped me along the journey, having preparing for having our son, because I was so incredibly
Mm,
scared after birth loss, and that really healed and that really helped. And I think along this journey of me healing all those parts of trauma and pain, I was blessed to receive messages again and to help others with with these messages, whether it was from spirit baby, whether it was from ancestors, whether it
mm,
was from whoever energy was there.
mhm,
I was able to share it, and it did a lot of work and helpful work to know that to help others continue on their path of acceptance and empowerment, and and being okay in the situation they're in. And yeah,
I love it.
so
You're
I'm
right. We
actually
could,
blessed to know.
yeah, good.
Are you still there?
Yeah. Go ahead. I said,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and there's so much to it. As I said, we could even do a second one.
I know. No, I
Second
was just
call.
gonna say, I was like, gosh, there's so much we could talk about because,
Yes.
there's so many other parts that it feels like so many levels. Like we really got into pelvic trauma awareness, women energy, I feel like, but also pregnancy, spirit baby. But there's also so many other elements to that. Absolutely would love to have you back on again. We could talk about even birth loss and spirit baby
Yes.
connections and even
Yes.
the terrain of the pelvic floor is probably very different when it comes to grief and loss. And I only know from my own psychic and space really of connecting with people and seeing things and people's energy fields of disruption and disharmony and finding that balance and working with it on that deep level.
Hmm.
So many different levels to work on. And I'd love for you. I know we didn't touch that much in aromatherapy. I know you
No, I
sell
know.
products. Are you currently selling?
Well, yeah, and the thing is when talking about aromatherapy and flower essence, I think what
Yeah.
happens now, I integrate all of that in the process.
Ah,
Whatever
yes.
is necessary,
Love it.
I feel I could make a personal blend of flower essences or essential oils or anything that comes that I intuitively feel is needed. I offer.
I love
I
it.
offer it to the mom, and even if it's necessary for the child or the spirit baby,
Hmm.
that you that shows to come forth. I make that. I integrate it all. I integrate all my knowledge and my love into a session and what is necessary at that time. And aromatherapy can be really powerful also because, of course, yeah, that's another topic we can get into. Many aspects
Yeah.
to it. And yes, I do have products. I long time ago I created my own flower essence blends made from the Bach flower essences, and they're all the chakra blends. So they're blends specifically created for generating and re-energizing the chakras or energy centers. And this process of really trying to, in the process of really finding my my mission in helping moms. With another colleague and a dear friend, we had a talk at some point, and I was like, oh, I would like to create something for the moms and the babies and the children who have not had a lot of blessings of getting the connection, the good connection, the bonding, the real bonding that you need to have after birth, with
Mhm.
your child. And whether it's the physical body and the physical child that you birth, or if it's the spirit child, there's always, if there's trauma, there's a disconnection. And in that conversation, I realized, okay, we're going to have to create something that moms can use to get re-embodiment and reconnection with their children and with themselves. So I created a spray, like an aura spray or a room spray. You could even use it physically for your body.
Yeah.
And it's created with essential oils and flower essences and crystals. So all the good things that allow yourself and you to be connected again to yourself, but also to your child.
Oh,
And it's
that's
a very
yeah.
grounding spray. And until now, I've heard a lot of good things about it.
It
So
sounds
those
like
are the
yeah,
products right
beautiful.
now.
I love it.
Yeah.
So we're coming up to the end now, and I want to
Hmm.
hear, just ways that people can find you, your website or email or any other social media.
The website, should I just name it and
Yeah.
set it out there? Of course, it's in Dutch right now. Sorry for all the English speaking ones. If you feel like you need a lot more information, I can always,
Mhm.
contact me through social media, which is on um, at tunona.9. No, at tunona9, and also on Facebook. So I have Facebook and Instagram, and the website is www.tunona.com. And you could always send me an email, of course, which is info@tunona.com. And anywhere where you see me on the social media, or try and contact me in whatever way feels good for you, either phone or message or WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or Instagram. Just contact me if you have any questions, and if you feel the need to set up a meeting, because even for the ones who are far away, I can still support you, not with the physical stuff, but I can still support you emotionally and spiritually, and so yeah, coach and support you with whatever is necessary or what is needed at that time.
Sounds beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being here for this conversation at Spirit Baby Radio.
Thank you for having me, Kelly. It was a blessing. Thank you.
And thank you all for joining episode 145. If you like my podcast, please subscribe, leave reviews, and join my newsletter for meditation on soul-to-soul communication with baby. And I should say that I'm also offered tips on Spirit Baby communication. And check out my book I have. It's a journal, Sacred Communication, a Spirit Baby journal, and Spirit Baby Oracle cards, answers from Spirit Baby.
This is Spirit Baby Radio. Thank you for joining Kelly in the energy of awareness, love, healing, and soul communication. Please join the next episode at www.soulbabycommunication.com.